Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the best settings to be using in Call of Duty Warzone if you're playing on either PS4 or Xbox, or if you're playing on PC with a controller. Now, Call of Duty doesn't give you the best settings by default. You have to go into your settings and change specific things to have the true advantage, and if you haven't changed anything in your settings so far, well, you're already at a massive disadvantage. But luckily you've come across this video, and today we're going to focus on the key parts that every single person should be changing. Now, if you go ahead and enjoy today's video, be sure to scroll down, drop a like to support the video further, and if you're currently not subscribed to the channel, I hugely recommend you guys subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any future tips, videos, news videos, all of that good stuff on the channel. Also, if you want to watch my future streams, be sure to scroll down, click on the link in the description to my Twitch channel if you want to hang out, all positive vibes and have a good time. So without further ado, let's jump straight into our settings. So we're going to focus on the key changes that will dramatically improve your gameplay experience. We're not going to focus on things that are personal preference, although I will advise you on things like sensitivity and how to find your perfect sensitivity. So if we start off with the controller section and then move our way over to the right, we'll start off with the button layout, which is one of the most important parts. Now, I recommend you guys have a tactical flipped button layout. The first reason why you want to have tactical is so you can crouch with the right analog sticks. Why do you want to crouch with the right analog sticks? Well, the first reason is for drop shotting. Drop shotting is a very good way of dodging enemy bullets and winning gunfights very easily in close quarter engagements. And also, if you need to duck down to cover during a gunfight, you can do so much easier as you've already got your right thumb over that stick. If you're currently using circle to crouch or any other button other than the right analog stick, that means you have to move your thumb over to that button, which makes you lose control of your aim movement, and maintaining your aim at the same time whilst ducking into cover and drop shotting is a very crucial part. I recommend you guys are using tactical flips, not just tactical, as it will flip the triggers from L2 and R2 to L1 and R1 and vice versa on Xbox, giving you a much faster input when you're aiming down sights and shooting, as the L1 and R1 are actual click style buttons, so they give immediate input, whereas the L2 and R1 triggers, you have to press them down a certain distance before they actually activate. So moving on to sensitivity, this is actually quite a personal preference thing. There is no such thing as a best sensitivity. Professional players use anything from a 3 sensitivity up to an 8 sensitivity, so it all comes down to what you find more comfortable. If you feel like it's a bit too sensitive for your liking, then lower it by 1 each time until you find that sweet spot you're comfortable with. I would recommend doing the same thing for your aim sensitivity, but with the aim sensitivity, you want to look out for 2 things. If you find yourself aiming past the target or over aiming, then your sensitivity is probably a bit too high and it needs to be decreased, and vice versa. If you find yourself shooting before you've actually reached the enemy, then you might have a very low sensitivity and you might want to bump up your aim sensitivity until you feel like you're quite comfortable. One thing I do want to mention is just because you're having a bad day and you're missing your shots doesn't necessarily mean you need to do anything with your sensitivity, and if you play around with the sensitivity too much, you won't give your fingers enough time to adjust the muscle memory, and if anything, it can make your aim worse. So once you feel like you found your perfect sensitivity, get used to that sensitivity and it will be much better for you. Now, I'd just like to say, if you're still watching the video and you're enjoying, be sure to scroll down, drop a like if you haven't already, and be sure you subscribe if you're currently not subscribed so you don't miss out on any future videos like this. Anyways, onwards to the next setting. Now, I briefly want to touch on aim response curve type, as I'm sure some of you guys are interested in this. I have mine on standard. Now, I have tested the other 2, which is linear and dynamic. I just want to say there is very little difference between these different curve types, unlike a game such as Apex Legends where you will notice a difference straight away. But just to make things a little bit simple, if you do select dynamic, it will increase the speed when you move your stick to the outer radius of your analog, whereas if you're using linear, then that is essentially a straight line, meaning that you're going to get a fluid movement throughout your experience using linear. I would recommend trying linear out, but if you want that classic feel that you've been getting in past Call of Duty titles, I would recommend sticking to standard, as that's what I found has worked best. Now, the next really important change with within my settings, which is something you guys should be changing as well. If we go over to the weapon section where it says use/reload behavior, you want to put that on contextual tap. Now, why you want to put it on this is because when you're looting around the map, you're going to have a much faster experience, because usually where you would press hold to pick up a weapon or to pick up any sort of loot, now you just have to literally tap that button and it picks it up straight away, meaning you can be an absolute loot goblin when it comes to taking loot and picking it up as soon as possible, ready for the next gunfight. You can get in and out of vehicles much faster as well, and you can do loads of other things faster than if you were to just have it on the previous setting. This is a must change for every person watching this video. I cannot describe enough how much this has changed me and my experience when it comes to looting and the overall experience of the game. It will take a lot of getting used to if you've only just changed it, but trust me, you will be thanking me later on down the line. Keep everything else on the controller section at its default, as they're the best options. Be sure to check that your movement is on the same settings as you guys are seeing on screen. You want your slide behavior to be on tap, because if you've got it on hold, then it will take longer to actually slide out of situations. So now with the controller section out of the way, let's move on to the general section. So with the general section, there's not much that needs to be changed. A lot of it is actually personal preference, but there is one thing I recommend you guys change, and that is the world motion blur and the weapon motion blur in the accessibility section. You want to have both of them on disabled. It makes sure there's no sort of blurriness on your weapon or the map around you, and it gives you a smoother experience and an easy accessibility to view everything around you. There is one other part I wanted to speak about in the general section. If you go to HUD, you want to change the mini-map shape to a square. The reason why you want to change it to a square from the original circle that you guys had by default is because having it on that classic square makes the mini-map bigger, meaning you can spot enemies easier and spot their exact location rather than having the small circle that you guys had previously, and it's much beneficial having it on the square. So be sure to change that if you haven't already. And that is going to wrap up the settings you guys need to be changing in Call of Duty Modern Warfare Warzone. I'm not going to cover the audio section as it's all personal preference. I mainly wanted to cover the parts that can actually change your gameplay experience for the better, and I believe I've covered everything I needed to cover in this video that will ensure you guys improve and get the best gameplay experience possible. So if you did enjoy today's video and you learned something new, be sure to scroll down, drop a like to support the video further. Be sure you subscribe in if you're currently not subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos like this one you saw today. Thank you all for watching this Modern Warfare Warzone video. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch all of you guys out in another brand new Warzone video. Bye bye.